Hey, all right, let's do some windows today, okay? So I have my drawing. Most of y'all's will look as simple as this. Some of you might have added more. I saw some of your examples yesterday. Many of you that have done this before are like diving right in and it's making sense, which is great, which is the point. Those of you that have never done this before, like again, like you are either in a good place or you need more support, and that's what these videos are for. So please don't hesitate to reach out. It is okay to not fully understand perspective. I still have to sit sometimes and pause the video and figure out, am I doing the right thing? Because even though I've done this a lot, like it takes different parts of your brain and it's complicated, right? It's hard. It's a good challenge, all right? So I have my pencil as well. And then I'm using a Christmas card today as my straight edge, which is another option for those of you that don't have a ruler, okay? So let's get started with our windows, and then you guys will have some time to work on and add to your city. Here we go. All right, let's choose a building. I'm gonna start easy, so I'm gonna use one of the buildings that doesn't have multiple sides. And so I'm gonna choose this one right here. And what I'm going to do is just create a bunch of guidelines using my straight edge, AKA my Christmas card. I'm gonna make some parallel lines. I'm just gonna show you really quick and then I'm gonna actually do it. I'm gonna make parallel lines going all the way down. So making sure that my straight edge stays straight, because students will draw and then their ruler starts to move and then they wonder why their lines are crooked. So be very careful, okay? And then we'll do the lines going vertically that will all lead towards your vanishing point here in the middle. That should still be there, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do my parallel lines first. One thing that I'm going to do, because I'm standing on the ground, right? Everything looks larger right in front of me, and as it gets further away, the lines will get closer together, okay? So I'm actually gonna start at the top and I'm gonna keep my lines closer together, and as I get further down, I'm gonna start creating more space between my lines to create that idea of perspective, to make it look real, okay? When you're looking at lockers in the hallway, the lockers right in front of you look normal, okay? The lockers gradually get smaller and smaller, but do they? That's just the illusion of perspective, okay? When you're driving down 45 to go to downtown Houston, okay? The buildings look really small, like you could take your thumb and cover it up, right? That'll be my last line right there, okay? So I'm gonna pause for a minute as you start to do your parallel lines. Notice how my lines are closer together near the top of my building because that's farther away, and there's more space between them down here to create that illusion of perspective or real life, okay? So I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so now that you have parallel lines on one building, you may have done them on multiple buildings if you were quick or working through whatever you worked through. Maybe yesterday you did some. So now I'm gonna do my vertical lines that are going to lead to my vanishing point, okay? This you don't have to worry about as much as far as like making it closer together or farther apart, because the vanishing point will create that for you anyway, and you'll see that as you go. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my line from the bottom of my paper, and I'm gonna stop at the top of my building. Why would I draw all the way up here, right? Right? So I'm drawing and then I'm stopping at the top, because even though I know it probably should go to the vanishing point, I know it can also stop at the top of my building because that's the top of my building, right? Why not? Why go any further, okay? So let me complete this. You'll notice too that the lines automatically get closer together or farther apart because they're getting closer to that vanishing point, okay? Your windows do not have to look like this. This is probably the easiest way to do windows, to ensure that all of your windows, the sides, tops, bottoms of your windows are meeting the rules of perspective, okay? So I just take a look. I probably can put one more line right here. I'll draw that line in there right now. Okay, so technically one of my buildings, it's not done yet. We still need to add value, shading and whatnot. We'll talk about that after break. But that's one building, right? If you want to do a building that has individual windows, so I'll show you, let's work on this corner building here. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to draw this on one of your buildings. If you want to take it a step further because you feel comfortable and you have a feeling you know what you need to do for more complicated windows, then go for it. But by all means, keep it simple like this, and then I'll show you guys how to do one on a corner building on both sides of the windows, or both sides of the building, sorry. Thanks, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to, let me turn this around. I'm gonna draw windows on this building. So this has two sides, right? Which means my vertical lines, or the lines going up, are still all going to meet with this point, no matter what side, okay? But the direction of my horizontal lines, my parallel lines, are gonna be different from this side. So this side, if I just, let me put it on this side so I can see it. One trick that I have for you is that when you're doing this, don't start from the top and go this way, because then you can't see where the line was before, right? Hold the ruler on the bottom side so you can see where your last line was, so you can ensure that you are putting your lines in the correct spot, okay? And notice how I'm stopping right here where my line, my corner of my building is, right? Okay? I'm gonna show you on this side, since this side is parallel to the other side of my sketchbook, I'm gonna line up the edge of my line. Okay? So if you look here, I'll get as close as I can, okay? You can see that my parallel lines on this side of my building are parallel with the top of my building and this side right here of my sketchbook. The lines right here are parallel with the top here and the bottom of my sketchbook here, okay? That's very important to pay attention to so it looks more realistic. And you use your ruler, just like we did on this one, all the way down on both sides, okay? I'll give you a minute to try that on one of your corner buildings, and then I'll show you one more trick before I let you work independently. Thanks, y'all. All right, y'all, so I went ahead and finished on this building here. Let me turn this around, okay? So I'm gonna leave the windows on this building as kind of straight across. So again, I'm already creating variety because I have what looks like a checkerboard pattern, and then I have just these straight lines. You can create your windows however you wish, but if you've never done this before, then by all means, copy exactly what I'm doing. You'll have time to add your own touch when we add value and designs after break, okay? So I'm going to move to this building right here, and I'm gonna create individual windows. I'm gonna make a couple of them just for the sake of time and allow you to choose if you want to use that idea for your own project or if you want to add more of what we just did a moment ago, okay? So just as we've done before, I'm gonna create parallel lines. I'm gonna make sure my ruler is coming from the bottom up, not the other way around, so I can see what I drew. I'm gonna draw a very light line across the middle, okay? And I'm gonna draw another, this is high up, so I wanna make them smaller, there. And then I'm gonna put one on the bottom just to show the size difference. There, okay? These are my guidelines, okay? Make sure you can see it, okay? So I'm gonna draw windows between these two spaces, okay? Eventually I'll fill up this whole space, but this is for the sake of time and just to explain. It also allows people that have never done this before to not be too confused because there's not so many windows on one building, okay? So I'm going to, I've created my parallel lines to the top and bottom of my sketchbook. Let me move it there, okay? Now I've got to create the sides of my windows. My sides of my windows are going to meet up with my point here. So I'm going to make some guidelines, some light lines that go up to my vanishing point, okay? I'm just gonna show you what my window is right there, okay? See where I've shaded in? That's my window. I'm going to now erase all of the lines that I used to help guide me with that window. So what I have left, you may have to like lightly go over some of the lines, okay? Okay, you can now see my individual window up there at the top. I may not like it that big, but for the sake of example, I think it's great for you to see, okay, how that's drawn, okay? So the top and bottom of my window are parallel with the top and bottom of my building. And then the sides of my windows are at an angle and they go up to my vanishing point here, okay? Let me finish the window on the bottom and then you'll have time independently to add more windows, okay? Let me do it this way so you can see it. So I have the top and bottom here. It may be hard to see, hopefully, I think you can see it, okay? Now I'm going to create the sides, and again, this window is gonna be rather huge, and that's okay, because it's for the sake of example. I might leave them that big, why not? Could be my surreal city, right? So you can start to see the second window that's here, right? I'm gonna put lines through it so you see what I'm keeping, and then I'm gonna erase the lines that I don't need. Okay, so keep in mind the top and bottom of these windows, if you're doing them individually, are parallel with the top and bottom of your building or side, okay? So if you're doing this on this side of the building, make sure that the top and bottom are parallel to the top of your building here. And if you're doing it on this side, the top and bottom of your windows are parallel to the top of this side, okay? If that's confusing, of course you can reach out to me and I can draw on your image and send it back to you, okay? So if I just put some real quick lines in here so you can see what that's gonna look like, okay? And then I'm going to erase my lines, and I have an individual window, okay? This takes more work, and I realize that some students may be like, nah, miss, that's too much time, okay? But they look really cool. I encourage you to try this on at least one of your buildings. The more windows you have, the better, the more it looks realistic like a downtown. So I look at my overall drawing, and so far these two look more realistic because there's so many windows. You think of skyscrapers in downtown Houston or any major city, there's lots of windows, hundreds, maybe thousands, depending on how tall the building is, okay? So now you're gonna have about 5 minutes to start adding, and then we'll go over some reminders, and then you'll have time to work and add during asynchronous. Be prepared to send me a photo of what you have so I know that you have been working and I can help you with whatever you need. You guys got this. Super proud of you. Doing this virtually is not easy, and you guys have knocked it out of the park. Okay, so let's get some practice.